Hey everyone. Hey, welcome to this Shortwave hangout. And this is every 2 weeks on Saturday evenings. And so we're going to have a lot of fun tonight, I hope. And or late afternoon here. As you see, it's a beautiful day. I almost did it on the balcony, but it's a little cooler than the last time. So I was afraid that, after an hour and a half when the sun sets a little more, might be might not be the best of ideas. So I'm gonna do it from my QTH, from my home base here in Montreal. So this is a shortwave radio show. We are live from Montreal, Quebec, Canada. It's every 2 weeks on Saturday evenings, 2000 hours Universal Time. That's 4 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time on the East Coast of North America, 1 p.m. Pacific, and wherever in the world you are, we broadcast to the world on the internet. And of course, today I've got fin du monde as usual, but small bottles. There was at the grocery store a special. A big bottle is $7, 7.50 Canadian, and they had this special where you take the cardboard crate, and you have 4 or 8 bottles, and 4 bottles of fin du monde, or a mix, because you could mix whatever you want in like 10 choices. So it came 4 bottles for $6.95, and they had like 8 bottles for $11.79 or something like that. So it was cheaper like this, and so I bought 4 bottles, and I always complain that I'm always missing beer, so I won't tonight for sure. Tonight's going to be a little special. I am going to do a few things. First of all, I am going to, of course, talk about the shortwave spectrum from 5 to 10 megahertz. What's there to listen in that little spectrum of shortwave? We'll continue, but we'll have a very, very nostalgic thing here. We'll have basically some old times shortwave interval signals, and I mean, some of you like me that have been listening for a long time, you're gonna get nostalgic, really, really. So yeah, that's true. They could be a sponsor. Since I should contact them. Who knows? I could have a sponsor. They'd be happy to sponsor their fin du monde beer. So hey everyone, welcome to the hangout. It's always nice. So we're gonna go down memory lane for sure. I can tell you that. So I'm gonna say hi to everybody in the chat room. So we have Chevalier, nice to have you on board. Calvin, nice to have you on board. Scotty TR6 in Toronto. Mbot, Brooks, whatever you want. Richard Cook, Stephen Cooper, Simon in UK. We have, what do we have? We have Jordan. Nice to have you on board. We have, what do we have? Just looking at here. Anybody else that I've missed? Ray in Nova Scotia. What do we have? PLF, nice to have you on board. If I miss anybody, please let me know. I'm going to say hi. For sure, I don't want to miss no one. It's always sad. Pretty cool to have everybody on board. And so today we're going to talk about different things, but I've experimented my interval signal stuff. It's going to be a little later. I'm going to wait till a little more people come in the chat room. Now we're going to talk about old shortwave stations, and I want to have also some feedback. Some of you that listen to these stations, some memories you might have about the stations that I will play interval signals. So basically, as we play the interval signals, we'll talk a little bit about the station. we have a few good ones tonight, and I was looking through the list, and I have like interval signals of stations that go up to like the 1940s. So there's a lot of stuff, and it's pretty amazing. So we're gonna check it out and see what comes out of all of that. Let's check the email, see if anybody's on board through the email. I forgot to turn it on. So let's go to the email here. Not do like I did last time or a few weeks ago when I forgot to check email and I had like tons of check-ins. So Frank in Tampa Bay, Florida says hi through the email. Nice to have you on board. And we have Susan in California saying hi. I missed yesterday's shortwave tuning the bands, but I'm here today. And she's enjoying a Budweiser. So cool. Cheers. Cheers to everyone that has beer. Whatever you're drinking, tea, coffee, water, anything, iced tea. It's perfect. So Simon UK says a lot of buffering. Anybody else having buffering on the video feed just by chance? Hey, PD1PME, nice to have you on board. And wanting to, yeah, what I would say, Simon, close your browser and restart the stream. Sometimes it could be the link, the stream you have, the link that it made, which is bad. But from what I see here, nobody seems to be buffering, so I guess might be something that's happening there. Hey, Steve, Australia, nice to have you on board. That's cool. Other side of the world. Hello, Mute Zone. Hello, Matt. Really nice to have everyone. And boy, you know what? I went through the interval signals for the show today, this morning, and I don't know. I was back in the 1980s. I can tell you that. Really back in the 1980s. It was just amazing. I wish we could just all, go through the stream back in time. Amazing here. So everybody seems to have a good time. The clock is wait. I'm just gonna turn this on here because it does help sometimes for the clock. And as for the clock, I can bring it a little closer. Something like this. So maybe you can see the time and the seconds on the video stream. I think that's not too bad. So I was reading my beer's in the way of the time. Okay. Oh man, like Ray says, I'd love to go in the 80s and have the icon here. I really would like to. I had the DX100 and the DX302. They weren't fantastic. I'd love to take my icon back to the 80s or maybe my Texan PL 680 and see how it performs in the crowded shortwave bands of the 80s when the problem was not receiving a station. The problem was trying to understand the station in between two very strong stations. That was kind of difficult. Simon UK, I found them online. There's a great website called intervalsignal.net, intervalsignals.net. And it has every interval signals from every shortwave broadcaster, even vintage ones from long time ago. So what I did is I took about, I guess I have about a dozen tonight, and I've put them in a folder in my computer. And so I will be playing from that folder. I've managed to find a way to mix my audio and that audio. So in between the interval signals, there's going to be like a slight pause of sound because I'm going to switch from one to the other, but going to be cool. I think it's going to be real nice. And I looked through the DXLD a little bit today, and the there was news of Radio Biafra from Africa that's back. A few things. There's Vanuatu that's back on air also. So there's a few stations that are back. Vanuatu, I believe, is after a storm, something like that. So, wow. Stream delay to the Netherlands is 14 seconds. That's pretty good delay, basically. A really, really good delay. Oh man, my my Galaxy S7 in 1985 would really turn heads. I can tell you that. I'd show everybody what I could do, except that I couldn't go online because there's no Wi-Fi and there's no cell service for internet. So basically, all I have to do, I'll have to put games and stuff in here and have everybody just enjoy what can be in the device. But man, that would blow everybody's mind for sure in 1985. That's for sure. How come in Back to the Future, when they're in the future, how come they didn't show us these? They were in the future. They should show it. They should have shown us these. Oh man, yeah, iPhones and iPads, and everybody's just like, what? What the hell is that? Really amazing. So, what else do we have here? MX5 says Japan on 13/7/20 was really booming into Colorado on his PL 880 this afternoon. Wow, nice. Yeah, no overboards, unfortunately. That would have been nice. But I would not have liked being in that alternate reality with Biff Tannen being the ruler of the world, basically, because he just won so much money thanks to that book with all the sports bets. So, hey, Radioactive, nice to have you on board. Hello, Clint, nice to have you on board. So, always cool to have everybody here. So, we're going to start with talking about a little bit of the shortwave spectrum before we go into interval signals and stuff. We're talking about 5 to 10 megahertz today, so we'll go through slowly. And we'll start with 5 to 6 megahertz, 1 megahertz range there. 5 to 6 megahertz. That's an interesting frequency range. It is host to a lot of unusual stuff. First of all, the first part of 5 megahertz from 5,000 to 5,150, roughly, a little less. You have the high end of the 60-meter tropical bands. So here you can hear tropical band stations, even though there's less than before. But you'll hear, I hear a regular in Montreal here is Radio Rebelde from Cuba on 5025. Radio Havana Cuba is all evening on 5040. You can have, I believe, WBCQ uses one of the frequencies like 5130 or something like that. You do have some Africans when they reactivate that are around that frequency range also. Then you have just above a mishmash of all sorts of utility signals. There's here in Quebec, we have like a Northern Quebec phone service or phone patch service, basically, for the people that are way out in the north of the province where there's no cell and phone communications. And they thought on what I guess is still or was Radio Alma, which was Radio Alma service was kind of a phone patch service in the 80s for people that were, in the far in the northern territory of Quebec for fishing and all sorts of, sports activities. Also for, workers like forest workers. And even here, since we have a lot of electricity stuff and, all the big electricity creating plants are all very far up north near James Bay here. There's a lot of stuff happening up north here in Quebec. So that is around, I've been hearing them in the range from 5,200 to 5,300 kilohertz in there. They seem to be somewhere in there, and I've heard 3 or 4 frequencies with French Quebecois accents, and you see that it's like a phone patch service. There's also the 60-meter amateur radio band, which is 5 channels, I believe, that are in specific frequencies and slightly different depending on where you are in the world. It's an interesting and unusual band, and it's in upper sideband most of the time. And there are some CW, Morse code, and also some digital modes there. As you go higher, then you will go into a aeronautical band around 56, 55, 5600 kilohertz. You'll have the aeronautical bands. You'll hear, New York, Gander. You'll hear aircrafts over the Atlantic Ocean or Pacific Ocean or wherever you are. You'll hear also, there's Valmets. I hear 5450, which is the Royal Air Force in the UK, the Valmet. There's 5505, which is Shannon in Ireland. Then as you go higher, starting around 5700 kilohertz, we start to have the lower part of the 49-meter international broadcast bands. So from 5700 to 6000 kilohertz, there's a lot of international broadcasters there, so you can tune around. It's a very interesting megahertz. I can tell you in the evening, because it's low frequency, so it's mostly from early evening and through the night. But there's a lot of stuff there, and it's amazing all the things that you can listen to there. And it's one of my, I'd say in the evening, I almost always go through the 5 to 6 megahertz range just to see what there is to listen to, because it's very, very surprising what you can hear over there. So, explore that. A lot of stuff in sideband. So a lot of the stuff that you'll hear there is, of course, in sideband. You'll need a sideband capable receiver. But tune in the evening and night. It's very surprising what you can hear on that megahertz range. Lots of stuff here, that's for sure. That's for sure. So, hey, Gerald, nice to have you on board. And no problem. No problem. I understand that, Saturdays, we have friends over. We have all sorts of people over. So for sure that, and as Richard Cook says, on 5,000 kilohertz straight, you've got, of course, the time signals, WWV, WWVH time signals. There's BPM in China. There are there. So pretty cool. Pretty cool. Frequency range for sure. And one, you got to tune around there for sure. So really, really nice. Yeah, like I said, the radioactive, I mentioned the 5, I think it's 5 channels of the 60-meter amateur band. And it's one of the very, very nice amateur bands there. So Simon in the UK saying, what is the signal on 5290 kilohertz? You're listening it right now? I probably don't hear nothing on that range here because it's still too early in the evening, but that could be something, if anybody can ID what's on 5290 kilohertz for a friend here. So it's nice to have everybody on board. We have Vincent in Calgary, Alberta. Says, I'm watching your shows every week, but since I'm using my iPad, it's not easy to use the shortwave chat. Yeah, that's the bad thing about the iPad. It really, really, really needs to be multitask. The next iPad, if they want to revolutionize the iPad, come on, make it multitask. Make it do more than one thing at a time. That, I think, would be the best thing that you could do. So take care, my Vincent. Nice to have you on board. And let's send that request to Apple. Apple, we want to have multitasking iPads. Stop making iPads that do only one thing at a time. Hey, Thomas Brogan, nice to have you on board. Yes, I am seriously thinking of a Wellbrook when the money is there. I don't have the money right now for Wellbrook, but yes, I am seriously thinking about one because from what I see with everybody, Jordan, all I can say is that it looks like a really wonderful antenna. And that might take me out of all that noise that I got here that's just making me go crazy. When I compare myself with other people, I do see that it's not that bad. I mean, it's noise, but I seem to still have a lot of listening that I can do. But yet, if I could lower noise and even get to these little signals that are weaker just below the noise floor, for sure, I'm really, really thinking seriously of a Walbrook. Hey, William Helms, nice to have you on board, checking in from the email. Always cool to have you on board, William. And great gang tonight. Yeah, as usual. It's always fun. Always cool. So really, really, really nice to have you all watching this. So we're talking about shortwave, and we are located in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. It's nice, beautiful afternoon. It was about 15 or 16 degrees today. It's 14.6 right now from what I see here. So on Facebook, Daniel Giraud watching now. Greetings from Durban. Nice to have you on board. Really cool. Thanks for checking in. And you know what? It's cool because I installed the Windows 10 Facebook app. That's finally done, and I like it because when somebody does something, I have the notifications now. So I know when somebody's saying something there. Like on Twitter, I get a notification. So if somebody says something on Twitter, I don't have to leave the Twitter client open. I just have the notification come in. And that is pretty cool. So, yeah, for sure, I want to have a Walbrook. That's for sure. So, I do have so much noise right now that I'm going a little crazy. So I'm going to check it out. Scotty TR6 says, can't multitask because it's too many cycles wasted on eye candy. Man, I don't know what it. I guess they don't want to multitask because they'll know that people will forget to close the apps, and the battery is gonna suffer like crazy because you have more than one app running. So it's gonna use the iPad's power too much. I guess that's the reason they don't multitask on iPads. But it would be nice. I mean, that's seriously a missing item. As a USB port of some sort, that would be nice also. Muzon says, go for it, Jill. I always say I get long wire catches at home, and it nulls the noise great. Yeah, that's what pretty much everybody is telling me, and from what I've seen, and I think Jordan just completed completed basically the questions I was asking myself, and so I need one. And by the way, Jordan, our friend Jordan, is having another Radio Northern Ireland broadcast tonight on WRMI in about less than 40 minutes on 15770. So at 2100 hours UTC, we'll have Radio Northern Ireland. So it's going to be nice to have everybody on board. Hey, Anton in Belgium, nice to have you on board. Really cool to see you. And really nice. So really, really cool to have everybody here. What else do we have here? So Alex, PA1SBM, nice to have you on board. 10-second latency, that's not bad at all. Hey, Andy Lewis, nice to have you on board. Yeah, but Andy, you would not say that here in where I live in the middle of the city. A long wire takes a lot of noise. But if you're in a quiet environment, I do think a long wire is the way to go. If I would live in the woods, I think 100, 150 feet long wire would do very, very fine. I see it when I go to the DXpeditions. When I go to Perry Island, I only have about 25 feet. And I can tell you, because of the low noise, I get everything. It's just amazing. But here, forget it. Here, the long wire picks up all the noise, and there's a lot of noise coming from everywhere. So that's for sure. MX5 says, Mrs. Jill says she wants a $325 new purse too. Yeah, that could be. That could be. That could be. Yeah, there are 5 channels of amateur radio, Simon, UK, on around 50, about from 5250 to 5375 or something. And somewhere in there, there are 5 channels of amateur radio. And yeah, Chevalier, I will not, I will not forget that. 100 feet wire when there's thunderstorms. I always unplug my antennas from my radio when thunderstorms, or if I go out in the summer, a very hot summer day, even if they're not saying, that there's going to be bad weather, you know, and hot, humid days, you never know when a thunderstorm can show up. So I always unplug it for sure. So we're going to have our first interval signal. Is everybody ready for that? We're going to have our first interval signal, and it's going to be kind of my first experiment here and playing with my settings. So, okay, guys, I'm going to play the first interval signal, and as soon as you hear it, now some of them have IDs, so it's kind of okay. But some of them don't have IDs. So in the chat room, everywhere, when you hear the interval signal, if you know what it is, just you know, type it in the chat room immediately, and no googling, no cheating of any kind. And of course, some of the interval signals today are from old, long gone shortwave stations, and some are still active today. So I'll give you the basically those that are active or not. I'll just say that. So we're gonna start. Let's check it out here. No Shazam. I really wonder if Shazam can. I'd like that. You know, Shazam says, "Oh, this is Radio Norway International Interval Signal." That would be amazing. Oh man. So let's check it out. Interval signal. Okay, first interval signal is from a station that exists today, but the interval signal you're going to hear is when it was in the communist era. It's an interval signal from 1983. So get ready, guys. We're going to get that going. I'm just going to start this. Okay, I'm ready to go. So here we go, guys. There's going to be a slight delay, and you'll hear the interval signal. Slight delay. I'm going to come back. So here we go.